All right, now we're done with the nuts and bolts stuff. All right, you know how to work your sources in. You know how to get your paper organized so that it moves from A to B in an intelligible manner. We've gone over these things. You know what sources you're using. Now we get to talk about the fun stuff, the integration of faith and learning. This is one of the things that Emmanuel College believes in strongly. We believe here that the life of the mind and the life of the soul are parts of one life that God has given you, and that every moment that you use your intellect, you're not only appreciating a gift that God has given you, but you're also worshiping God, loving Him with your whole mind. You might have heard this in your classes. If not, please take it to heart. This is an act of worship if you do it as an act of worship. Now, how does this bear out in the paper? Well, first of all, one of the required sources is John Donne's Meditation 17, as you know by now. It's definitely a text that has some spiritual meaning, some devotional meaning. You're also going to be bringing in some Bible verses, all right? These are times when you can really think about how things in your profession, in your planned line of work, are relating to the spiritual realities that you've been learning about in your Bible classes, the spiritual realities that John Donne points to. Again, this is one of those places that's going to be a judgment call, but take some risk with this, all right? If you start to have a thought about where John Donne might be influencing how you imagine being a teacher, run with it, all right? If you have some thoughts about how John Donne might be talking about, business in a way that makes you imagine your customers differently, run with it, okay? Now, I keep saying okay. When you're doing this integration of faith and learning part of the paper, and of course this ought to run all the way through the paper, but remember that you are writing to someone who doesn't live inside your mind, all right? So think about things in terms of primary causes and secondary causes. Now here's what I mean by primary and secondary. You can say, and you should say, because we confess this as Christians, that God has a plan for your life, that God moves things in the world, that God makes things happen. Those are good claims to make. What I would ask you to do is think about, by what means did God do that? Did God speak to you as a voice in your head? Did God cause you to encounter a human being who blessed you in a certain way, who challenged you in a certain way? Did God protect you but allow you to suffer some? Think about the actual concrete, specific details of the story in which God influences your life. All right. Moreover, when you're talking about your profession, don't simply say that I want to be a good Christian teacher. Take some time to think about, all right, what are some of the big theories of education that are out there? What have we read about? What have we talked about in my education classes? Which ones seem more adequate? In other words, which ones seem to be a better fit for what we learn about God through the Scriptures, through our experiences in worship, through any of the sources that you've learned about God through, all right? This is one of those places, the integration of faith and learning, where you can really start to think about how you are going to be different from an everyday practitioner of this. Now, minister majors, you've got a special task in front of you because, well, I mean, that I know of, or at least all of them that I know personally, all the ministers are Christian. That's kind of part of the job. What you need to think about in this is, all right, how is John Donne speaking to my profession? Again, how am I going to be different from people who haven't been made aware of the things that John Donne makes me aware of? All right? Minister majors, if you want to email me, my email address is ngilmore@ec.edu. I'd be glad to talk to you. All right? Now, back over to the rest of you. Business majors, education majors, psychology majors, folks who are going into fields where you're going to be working alongside and sometimes in competition with folks who are not Christian. This is where you can really shine on this paper, all right? What about the Christian faith makes your practice different? What is it in the Bible that makes you think that this theory is going to be more adequate than that theory? What is it about the character of Christian worship that makes you think I'm going to do my business differently than someone who doesn't worship Christ? All right? These are the kinds of things you can really dig into. This is where you can research some. Again, I realize I'm talking in nebulous categories because I'm trying to talk to all of you at once, but really take the opportunity, if you have a chance to talk to your professor one more time, your favorite professor in your major, talk about what it means to be a Christian mathematician. Talk about what it means to be a Christian in the natural sciences. Talk about what it means to be a Christian in the public school system. This is your time to take stock of those things in a disciplined way so that when you go out to grad school, to the public schools, to the business world, wherever you're headed, you can really bring with you some mental tools that you have sharpened up in this paper. I realize this video has been more of a devotion than a how-to, but I felt like at least one of these videos ought to talk to some of these questions. So think spiritually, write your spirituality, give your senior seminar teacher something to think about when it comes to how Christianity intersects with your trade. We've only got 2 more video clips in this series. One of them's going to be about editing. One of them's going to be just some final remarks. Thank you for sticking with me this long, and I'll see you on the other side of the click.